So today we'll be looking at getting sound on an OpenTX or EdgeTX controller, and what I've got here is my jumper T-Lite with EdgeTX installed, and the sounds I'm referring to are the ones like the boot up sounds when it makes an intro sound, or also the switches when you flick the switches. So I'll just turn on the controller here just to give a demonstration.
OpenTX disarmed. Telemetry lost.
So there are some of the sounds and the sound pack that I've installed onto this controller, and I've had a few people ask me how to do that, so I'll go through a bit of a tutorial today really quickly on how to get that onto the controller through the SD card. So it's not that hard, it's just a bit of sourcing of the files and then configuring it through the EdgeTX menu. I believe in OpenTX it's just the same, you go through the same menu steps, so it should work as well. I know that the sounds that played, like something like this,
Armed. Disarmed. Ignition on. Whatever.
those sounds, I know it's a bit tacky, but it does give me an audio indication of when the quad is in a certain state, like I'm flicking switches, or if I'm actually low battery or the telemetry has been lost. So it's just a good way to get some more information from the quad while flying without having to look at the OSD all the time, getting distracted by all of those numbers and the words on the screens, and just focus on flying. I enjoy it a bit more, and then when it's low battery it will tell me, and then I'll start looking at the voltage of the battery cell as I'm flying. So that just gives me a better idea of what's happening. So those are the standard stock sounds that you get out of some of the sound packs. Of course, there's different voices out there. In fact, you can actually get Joshua Bardwell's sound pack as well, which he's made. He's actually spoken or made the sound packs for each of the sounds and the noises that you can put in here. And I'm using one, I think it's called Amber, so I'll go through and show you how to do that. I don't want Joshua Bardwell in here. You can do that if you like, but I'm just going to stick with this one. But one thing that I also found recently that was quite useful is actually using AI. Now you're wondering, how the hell are you going to use AI in a controller like this? It's not that sophisticated. I'm really only going to be using AI to generate the sounds to fit and match with the audio, the voice that actually is in here. So this one's called Amber, and it was missing, I think, telemetry loss and telemetry recovered, which tells me when I've lost signal through the controller. But I think using AI and the steps that I'll be showing you later, it helps with actually getting those voices to be more consistent and sound the same. I don't want to have Amber saying all of the other ones like
Armed.
like that,
Disarmed. Ignition on.
and then having it say telemetry loss in a different voice. So I want it to be the same, and there's a method of doing that, and I've got it to work, and that's with the telemetry loss. I do need to do it for the turtle mode. I haven't got that one yet, so I'll show you as an example going through these steps. I don't know if it's going to work exactly the way I want. The tone of how the voice pack or the mimicking software that I'll be using, the AI, will sound the way I want it to sound, but hey, let's give it a try. We might find something interesting there. Alright, so jumping over here onto the computer, just go to a browser and go to search something like OpenTX Amber Sound Pack, or if you want to get Joshua Bardwell's one, I think you can just search for that one as well. But here we have Amber Sound Pack, and the first result here I think is what I found it, so go into that one. And in this forum post, you get someone asking for it and another person responding, giving the original Amber sound pack, but I believe this one has been tainted and been filled with a bunch of other voices in there that are not Amber sounding. So down here, someone has just basically cleaned it up. They've gone through, removed all the ones that aren't Amber and left it as Amber cleaned. So just go ahead and download that and extract the contents and you'll get the sound pack. So I've already done that here. I've got the Amber 2.2 cleaned and I've extracted it to be just Amber. And in here you get all the sound files. Now the structure of the folder that you need to put this in isn't in the correct way at the moment. It's just basically all the files inside just Amber. You'll need to put it into a folder called EN. So I'll show you that now. So over on your controller you will see a structure like this, and basically you'll need a folder called sounds here. If it doesn't already have one, create a folder called sounds, and then in here you can see there's different folders for different languages. So I'm not sure what each one of these are. That could be Czech. I'm not sure what DE is. There's EN here, which is English, and I think I had this one previously as the original one from an original sound pack that I had, so I just renamed it with _orig. And here I've got EN, so EN is the one that we want. And going in here, you can see that I do have all the sound files of Amber that I've already installed. So you're going to have to do that. So going back to the folder of the download for just Amber and copying all of these into that EN folder. So once you've done that, your controller is now ready for using the sound pack, and I'll jump over to the controller now and show you how to set it up so that you can actually assign the sound files to the controls or the telemetry that comes through. Okay, so once you've copied all the files, basically put the SD card back into the controller and boot it up. So the sounds there, of course, I've already set up, but I'll go through and then show you how to set each one of them up in the settings. So what we do is we go into, for this controller anyway, I'm going to hold on to model. You can see there's 1 to 12 pages. I'm going to go backwards, so I'm going to cycle from going left to go back to 12, page of 12, and you go back all the way to special functions. So in here you can see I've got a few of the settings there already for various switches. So the first column is the switch that's going to actually activate the sound, and in the middle, play track is the one that you're going to have, well, you have to set so that you can choose the sound pack that you've just copied into the SD card. So here you can see I've got SA, I think SA down, which is armed, so it'll play tracked, and the first, you can see there, it's named as armed, and disarmed as well, so that's the second one, which is this one here, and you'll have to go and create one. So here I've got a blank line, so maybe I'll set one for the middle switch here, where I've got nothing there. You can hear there's nothing, no sound, so I'll try and do that now. So pressing enter on there, it will start flashing to let me select the switch, and to select the switch, basically you flick the switch to the position that you need for the sound to play. So here I'm going to flick it to the middle one. It's identified it as SA dash, which is the middle section or the middle configuration of this switch here. And you move over to the second option. Sorry, I press enter first. Move over to the second column. Hit enter on that, and I'll just go through the options here and look for play track. Press enter, move over to the right, the third column, press enter again, and here you then get to select the sound files that you've just copied into the controller through the SD card. So I don't know what I'm going to choose. I might just grab any old random one, maybe what's this, 4 cell. And if I flick this back to original position, it says disarmed, but if I flick it to the middle position, it will say whatever it is that the 4 cell sound pack is.
4 cell.
4 cell. There you go. So it's as simple as that. That's how to set up a basic switch sound. So I hope that helps, but there's other things that you can do as well. Like I said, telemetry or any other things like low battery. You can see this one here. I've got it on low battery, and that's L01. So you're wondering, well, what's L01? How do you know when there's low battery? So I've set it up as a logical switch. I think that's what it's called. So I'm going to go back up to the page selector here and go back one page. You can see on this page here, logical switches, and I've set it up for the various conditions that need to happen, and then I can use it in the special functions. So basically in special functions, I can use that logical switch, and the first one you see there is L01. And there are certain, I guess, conditions that you can set. So you can go down here, L01, pressing enter on that, it lets me edit it. You can create them as well, so maybe I'll create the same one again, or maybe something like a different low battery just to demonstrate. So I'll exit out of this. So going down to L03 here, where we don't have one yet, we can set up a new logical switch, and I might just do one that's similar to the L01, setting up how the battery is going to be. If it's below a certain value, in this case 3.3, that it will actually show or make a sound, sorry, in the special functions. So in here, you go to L03 and press enter. The first option there you have is function. So picking on function, you will then get an option of, well, what function do you want to action? So there's a lot in here. I haven't used many of them yet. First one here is A is equal to X. So if a value meets an actual another value that's exactly the same, then it will switch that logical switch, which then you can use in the special functions. In this case, I'll be going to a is less than x. Sorry, I'll have to go there. Go a is less than x. And that will be the condition of when the battery is less than a value. So battery being a and x being the value. And I had the value there before at 3.3. So I'll go and set up the same. For V1, I'll be choosing the battery telemetry value, which is the RX bat. So I think I'll have to go quite a lot. So I'll go and look for that. Right, so I found it. It's RXBT. So I'll select that for V1. And then for V2, I'll choose the value of the battery that I think that I want the sound to start playing when it goes below. So it was 3.3 that I had before. I'll just create the same one here. So 3.3. You can also set up here where it says end switch. So a switch has to be in a certain condition for this logical switch to be active. So you might want to choose something like the SA in armed. So I've got it armed there, SA. When it's flicked in that position, I can choose that. Duration, how long for this switch to be on. So I think that's how long it will be active for and then come back down to be turned off. But I'm not going to use that there. And delay, you might want to put a delay on this one if there's going to be, I guess, punch outs that make the battery sag below the 3.3 volt value that you don't want it to make that sound. So you can put a delay in there for maybe half a second or a second, which you might have to play around with depending on how your flight style is. I haven't used this before. It seems to work okay without it in my condition here for 3.3 volts. But for you, up to you if you want to use that there. So there you go, hitting return or back, you get back to the menu of logical switches and L03 has been set. So I can use that now, L03, as a condition in the logical switches. So I'll go back to that previous page. Special functions on page 10. And I can go down here to another blank line and then choose that one. Actually, I might change this SA-1 for full cell because I'm not going to need that one. I can change that one to be, instead of SA dash, I can choose, well actually I have to make that blank, so I have to go all the way down here. So I'm going to have to go through this menu here and look for L03, which is the one I've set. So there it is, L03. Hitting enter on that and it will play the track of, well, full cell at this stage, but I might go and change that. And again, you might want to look for low bat. Since the sound pack has a lot of files in here, it's going to take some time to scroll through, but you'll end up getting there in no time since it scrolls pretty quickly. But for L, you're going to have to hold it for quite some time. And there you go, you have low bat there and you can select that. So that's how you set up the logical switch for something like an RX low bat telemetry value that comes from the Express LRS receiver. And then it can tell you when you are in low battery. So there you go, that's how you set up a sound with switches or logical switches and be able to make the sound play when those conditions are met. Alright, so as mentioned, I'm going to be using AI to generate more sound packs for Amber, and you can use this for any of the other voice packs that are out there as well, or anything that you like actually. If you wanted to have Snoop Dogg do his voice in your radio or anyone else like that, then you can go in and use this. You just need to get a sample of the voice of the person that you want, and then you upload it so that it can then sample that, generate the voice pack for it, and then once you've uploaded the voice samples, you can then use this to then put in the text that you want for it to say, and then it will say it in the voice that you've just uploaded. So all you got to do is basically try it for free. You can set it up, and I think it gives you about 12,000 characters or so to play around with it, and then after that it starts going into a pricing model. I'm only using it for very few characters. As you could imagine, the voice packs that we generate for OpenTX or EdgeTX isn't that large. It's only a few characters for a few words, so it's enough for what we need to do here. So to get a sample of the Amber pack, basically I've opened the files up here in VLC Media Player for all the sound pack files for Amber. I've got them all here. I've only loaded the ones that are not part of the system folder, just the main ones. You don't need to use all of them either. You can use probably 30 or 40 of them, enough to kind of get a voice pack. So what I do is what I've done actually is basically use my screen recorder to record the playback of the sound. So if I play it here, it plays them.
1 cell, 2
Oh,
cell,
she's interrupting
3
me.
cell.
So you can play them one after the other like that. So it will just start playing all of them and record that, extract the audio, and then upload it onto the PlayHT website. So once you've signed up, you can see the screen here. It's the main screen that you get. You can go over here and create voice clone. So you can go over here, instant, only 30 seconds of audio needed. So clicking on that. Input language, I'm just going to put it as English. And choose the clone method, high quality audio sample. So I'll click on that. So it would open up a dialog for you to choose the audio file that you would like to sample or clone. So I've got one here, Amber audio sample. Click on that, click on open. I'm just going to name it. I'm just going to call it Amber V1 and change this to female. There's the file that I'm going to upload and confirm that I have the rights. I don't have the rights, but I'm just going to clone it anyway since it's just for my controller. Alright, so it's cloned successfully. I can use it. I'm not sure why this is still here. I'll close it off. So here you can then start typing things in that you want Amber to say. So as an example, telemetry lost. I might try that, even though I've found the file anyway, but let's just try it out. Generate speech. And you can see down here, I have 12,500 characters to use, but now I've just used a few characters, so it's dropped a bit there. So over here, you can then start playing the sample that it generated, and let's test it out.
Telemetry lost.
And there you go, telemetry lost. And it sounds quite close to the Amber pack where it says telemetry lost. Alright, so it works well. You can then create more as well. So let's just try a few other ones. EdgeTX, let's try that. I've put a space between the T and the X because I think if you put TX together, it tries to read it as a word. So I'm just going to generate that. Right, so it's done.
EdgeTX.
It doesn't sound great, but I think you can do regenerate and it will run that over again, and sometimes it sounds different, sometimes it doesn't, but let's just try it.
EdgeTX.
It sounds about the same, doesn't sound great, but you know, you can go through and try it out in different ways and it might generate the way that you like. So a few other ones that I might want to get as well is turtle mode. Might put a full stop on the end of that just to change the tone of it. Okay, so it's done.
Turtle mode.
There you go, turtle mode. Doesn't sound perfect, but it is close enough that it sounds alright on the controller, I think. So I'll try and load that up. Okay, so now that you have the file generated here, you can download it. So clicking on this cloud icon will then download it to your machine. So there you go, you have one there. So once you've generated the sound file and downloaded it, you still need to modify it a little bit, change the actual encoding of it so that it actually works with the controller, because there are a few things that the controller, OpenTX and EdgeTX, require for the audio file format to be in. So you can see here that the file name needs to be 6 characters and it has .wave on the end. The sample rate needs to be 32 kilohertz or 16 or 8 kilohertz. The bit sample needs to be 16 or 8. Tracks needs to be mono, and the compression code needs to be PCM. So you need to abide by these, otherwise the audio file won't play in the controller. So I have a way of actually converting them. It's another website, and here is Wave Converter. So this is quite simple. You go into this cloudconvert.com/wave converter, and you're able to select the file and convert the WAV file to another WAV file with the right format that is specified in the OpenTX manual. So over here, selecting the file, and the one that I just generated, even though it's not the right file naming format that OpenTX needs, I'm going to choose it anyway to generate the new file, so I'm going to open that, and I'll have to enter in some of the details here that I want to convert it to. So this button here, I choose wave that I want to convert it to. It has an icon here to change the settings. So audio codec, PCM, I think I'll leave it as that first one there. The audio bitrate, so going back over here, bitrate needs to be 16. The channel, mono, volume, I'll leave it as no change. Sample rate, I think it was 32 kilohertz, so let's just double check that. 32 kilohertz. And I don't want to trim it, so that's the settings that I need to put it in so that the controller can play it, or OpenTX can play it. So I'll go OK. Once that's set, I can click on convert. So it's uploading the file now, processing it, and it's done. The file is very small, so it completed that very quickly, so I can download this file now. Alright, so once you've downloaded the file that you've just converted the WAV file to, I'm going to rename this to 6 characters, so I'm just going to go TRTMDE for turtle mode and hit enter to save that, and basically copy this file into the EN folder. So the folder here in the EN of the controller, in the sounds folder EN, basically copy and paste it in here. I'll do that now. Alright, I've pasted it. I'll just have to look for it just to be sure that I've pasted it in the right location. trtmde.wave, and now I'll just have to copy this into the SD card if I'm not actually pasting it into the SD card yet. Put in the SD card of the controller and then fire up the controller. Once you've done that, you basically go through the settings that I showed you earlier to then assign that sound pack to whatever switch or control that you want, or whatever reading that you want. Alright, so back over here in the special functions page, you can go down. There's one that I wanted to update here. I've got the switch here on the back as
Whatever.
I'm not sure if you can hear that, but I'll do that again.
Whatever.
It's when she says whatever, and that's my turtle mode. And basically I'm going to go over to this one here, which is WHTVR, and change that to the turtle mode file that I've just created. So I'll click on that and look for TRTMDE, which is what I named it. There it is. I can click on that, and hopefully if I flick this switch, that'll play turtle mode.
Turtle mode.
There you go. So
Turtle mode.
that's how you set it up. Creating a new voice or a new sound pack file for Amber, and then using it in your controller. Alright, so that's it. I just wanted to show you that how to set up the voice packs inside the controller here and getting it to make those sounds, giving you a few indications of your signal, your telemetry or battery and those sort of things as well. It's handy for me, and I know that a few people don't really like having the controller making sounds and noises like that, but for me it's informational and it helps when I fly. So I hope this helped someone out there. I hope you learned something and you enjoyed it. And also from the AI perspective, I was able to use it effectively for something that I couldn't do with any other tool. So that's just something interesting. So I hope you enjoyed it. Anyhow, that's it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.